Okay, augmented reality. Let's start off with a brief definition. If you've ever seen American football, perhaps you've seen the first down line projected onto the football field. That's a great example of augmented reality. It's graphics enhancing the real. Same thing if you've seen hockey, the trajectory of the puck, or in golf, the trajectory of the ball. The terms are first kind of came into vogue back in 1992. That's when some of the original technology was discussed. But think of augmented reality on a continuum, from the very real to the virtual. In between, you have the continuum of augmented virtuality and augmented reality. And augmented reality is more closer to the real thing. And what I'm going to show you in this series of slides is what some of the companies in the field have done with location-based augmented reality. Again, projecting information onto the real. And in some of these examples in these slides, of what you'll see in using smartphones is that they're using the camera to essentially project onto the individual screen bits of information. And in these cases here, by a company called Layar, an Amsterdam-based company, what they're showing you is tourism-based information, okay? Points of interest, things that you cannot see. Essentially what this has become is your X-ray vision, the Superman X-ray vision. Wouldn't you like to see something behind the wall? Wouldn't you like to see something about what's happening down the street? Would you like to see where there's a Starbucks or whatever? And the whole point of this talk is really not to trivialize augmented reality, because there's tremendous business benefit to this technology. So you got to step outside the tourism examples for a second and think really about what's going on here. So in the next example that you'll see up on the slide is something created by a company called Masternaut in the UK. And what that does is show the ability to see things like assets, things that are on the ship. And I don't know if this is advancing the way it should, but what you'll see is, here you go. What's on these containers, okay, on that ship, which may be traveling on a certain date. It's essentially projecting information about assets in business. And this is, I think, is a great example of this ship. Things for Homeland Security, for example, are now going to be projected using mobile devices. And in the next slide, what you're going to see is a very good example of this thing called Masternaut, which is using RFID technology to look at the individual inventory of things. Again, something like you saw on the ship. That's a macro example. Here is a macro example, maybe something like what was shown yesterday in the city sourced example, where citizens are uploading information about points of interest. Here in the Masternaut example, they're doing things for field service personnel. Where's the pothole that needs to be fixed? Where's the curb that needs to be repaired? And what this is doing here is showing the field service technician where that information is. Or in the case of assets, like you may not know where things are stored in an inventory in a warehouse. You put up your little mobile device, you scan the area, it's tagged to the RFID database, and all of a sudden you know exactly where maybe the thousands of parts are located, right? You may not want to, you may not know where all of this information is, but with this technology being location-based, whether it's tagged to something like a points of interest or tagged to RFID technology, you now have immediate access to the location of things, and in this case here, find me where the parts are. It can be used for things like find me the bar, find me the coupon, but that's not where the business benefit is in my way of thinking. So step outside the tourism. I don't need another location-based app to show me where the Starbucks is. So really think about, take away from this presentation of what you think you can do with augmented reality in business. And I would start with field asset management. I would start with things like Homeland Security. And I think you're going to see more of these examples come in the coming weeks and months. A company called Mateo out of Berlin is doing something like this. I mentioned Layar. You're going to see a lot of these things being put on mobile devices. Layar is also in the App Store right now for iPhones. But again, think outside of tourism. Think to the business benefit. So I think I've hit my time just about right on. Thanks very much.